The big story in New York and I think in Washington is what's going on with trade and how that's affecting the markets, because the markets are really taking a hammering today up here in New York. The president has got some issues with some Republican senators. Are they going to stick with him on this?
Well, look, I can't speak for anybody. Nobody likes it when the stock market goes down 2.5% in one day, and it had a very bad week last week. There's unquestionably that is being driven by trade concerns between China and the United States. But I'm a free trader. You know, I worked for President Reagan. I was for NAFTA. I was, for free trade agreements. But let's admit that in this case, the Chinese got in the WTO in 2001, and they've cheated ever since. The Bush administration and the Obama administration, neither one chose to really try to do anything about it. Now we're told by economists that by 2025 or so, China's economy is going to be as big as ours. Donald Trump's come to the conclusion if we're ever going to do anything about the Chinese cheating, if we're ever going to do anything to hold them to their agreements, because free trade does mean sticking to your agreements, he's decided now is the time. And frankly, it's hard to argue with that. A lot of risk involved. I'm from, as you know, the South. Maybe you couldn't tell by my accent. But I come from a farm area. Farmers are being hurt by this. Soybean prices are at a huge low. But the question is, are you just going to let them cheat forever?
Yeah, and Governor, I think that there's pretty much bipartisan agreement that the Chinese need to change what they're doing. The question is, how much pain can we endure? Let's be honest, it's a different government system in China from what we have here. And you've got those farmers, like the farmers in Mississippi I was going to ask you about, actually, but the farmers across the country who vote, and there are other people who are getting hurt. How much power do we have to withstand that pain? Can we really put up with that over the longer term?
Well, economically, we have more power than the Chinese. But you're right. The Chinese don't have to care whether their people like it or don't like it or feel like government policy is bad policy, because the people don't have any voice in that. But for us, I mean, the real question is, when is it going to be easier to make the Chinese abide by the agreements that they've made? I mean, to me, it's remarkable that these trade talks broke down when the Chinese reneged on one of their promises made in the trade talks. The whole thing is about the Chinese not keeping their word, not abiding by the agreements, whether it's intellectual property, currency manipulation, and other things. And yet, in the middle of this negotiation, they reneged. They back out of something that they agreed to in the negotiation before it ever went into effect. Does that make you think, well, we'd be smart to wait until their economy is bigger and stronger before we try to do something about it?
So the most important thing, of course, is the economy itself, and more important, the livelihoods of those people, including your Mississippi farmers. At the same time, there is politics involved. Give us a read on the politics as we go into 2020. If this is not resolved by then, which way does this cut for the Republican Party and for Donald Trump?
Well, there's so much water to go under the bridge, but unquestionably, in 2020, the biggest election issue should be the economy. I mean, we've had a huge change in the economy. President Obama, big government, huge government spending, but a smaller private economy yields 2.1% GDP growth over the average of 8 years. For Trump, we've now in the second year of 3%. We're at 3.1% last year. Now over 3.2, I think 3.2% for the first quarter of this year. Just think about what the economy would be like and the country would be like if the economy under Obama had grown half again faster. Instead of 2.1, 3.1. Well, in the heartland when President Obama was president, you couldn't tell the difference between the recovery and the recession. You can tell in the heartland with Trump. Are farmers worried? Yes. Do they have a right to be? Absolutely. But in middle America, in small town America, in the heartland, you can see the difference between this and the Obama economy, and what you see is very pleasing and positive for Americans, whether they are African American workers, whether they're females, whether they're small business, and this trade issue hangs over that. I understand that and don't deny it. But the real American economy is better than it's been in more than 10 years.
Yeah, as you say, the economy, if it continues on the path that it's on right now, has to be in the plus column for the Republicans and for President Trump come 2020. Looking across the aisle, understanding you're a devoted Republican, looking at the other folks, is there anybody you think that might be able to get purchased, can make some progress with that middle America, with the small town America? Is that Joe Biden?
Well, you know, Joe Biden is essentially running for Obama's third term, just like Hillary Clinton did. And I think the more people have seen the economy under President Trump, the more they've recognized that the economy under President Obama was much worse than it should have been. You look back at after the last deep recession before 2007-8, look back to 1980, 81, 82, when that recession was over and we had gone down to 10.8% unemployment, under Reagan, it sprung back, and that's what usually happens. You have a deep recession, you usually have a strong comeback, but under Obama, it was almost flat, 2%. People, I think, will, if this is brought to their attention by Republican office holders of the administration, they will see, boy, this is so much better than the economy than Obama gave us, and it is because of policy. It's because of letting businesses and families keep more of what they earn rather than the government spending more of what they take from the people.
So finally, Governor, we've been talking about this. It's all at the national level, at the federal level. You served as governor, as I say, of Mississippi. As I understand, you've got another gubernatorial election coming up down there. When they go to the polls to vote for the next governor of Mississippi, will voters be concerned with the issues we're talking about right now, Washington issues, national issues, or is it much more local for Mississippi?
Well, the economy transcends localism versus nationalism because it's the same general economy, but in certain states, the economy doesn't grow as fast generally as in some other states, and in other states it grows faster generally than the nation as a whole. But the economy really, really matters, but also the way government has been run. If you look today and take the 50 governors, the 10 most highly regarded governors in polling are all 10 Republicans. That helps them running for re-election. And that will help the two Republican governors who are running for re-election this year in Mississippi and Kentucky. And I said that wrong. In Mississippi, it's the lieutenant governor of the sitting Republican governor, but it will help him that people think the state government has been run right and is taking advantage of what's going on nationally.